Team, good evening, good morning. Kumar here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Kumar.
Okay, good. So we have pretty much the count, the expected count. 7:41 is the time. So let's get started. And you got a good break. I mean, I should not call it as a break, of course. How was the scoop class?
Yeah, it was good, Kumar. Uh, we had some practical, and he told he will take the next class on the coming weekend.
Okay, okay, good. So scoop is completed or still something is pending on scoop?
Yeah, practical is pending. A little bit practical is done, still pending.
Okay, okay. But you're able to follow, right?
Yes, Kumar, very much.
Okay, good. So next class, 19th and yeah, see, one thing is next weekend, maybe 19th and 20th we may have class, but 26th and 27th, Mahesh won't be available in the city, so there will not be any class on 26th and 27th. Okay, maybe we can plan for two classes, one on 19th and one on 20th. Okay, we'll see that when it comes to close. Okay, and yeah, and how are the Java class? How are they going on? Had it happened?
No, we didn't
I,
have the
I
class.
And there's no communication also?
No, I
No,
dropped him an email. He said like he will communicate for the next session later in the evening, but I think in the morning.
Okay, okay. Let's see. But how many topics or how many days of concepts are left? Do you remember?
I think one or two classes left, Kumar, not many. He sent a mail on Saturday or Friday night, like we have a class on Sunday. I couldn't join. I'm not sure whether someone else tried.
no, I did not get any mail actually, Kumar.
Okay, so I mean the recorded videos will be anyway available to everyone. So even if you miss one class, let's not really bother about it because make use of the recorded videos. Okay, and then next one is have you got a chance to practice your stuff for the weekend?
Uh, yes, Kumar, yeah.
So now any questions on the Hive practicals? Any topic? Okay, so I'll take that as no, and we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, in Hive, we talked about this bucketing and partitioning and Spark. Yeah, the file formats are very important, friends. So try to gather more information about it around them. So what is this basic row columnar format? What is the advantage of that? When to use Parquet versus when to use ORC, right? Those are something that you should remember. And then next topic could be, one second. Yeah. So next topic that I would like to talk about is UDFs. Okay. So in Hive, whenever you want to do any aggregation over a column, for example, you want to find some average, maximum, minimum, something like that, right? In SQL, we know there are functions available. Using those functions, we can compute those required sum or max or minimum or whatever we typically want. In Hive, those functions are called UDFs. The same thing, okay? Name is also actually the same, user defined function. Okay, so the last letter is still function only. Only difference here is even the built-in functions, and even the function that ships with the high by default, they are also called as UDFs only. That's the only difference. Okay, so the functions that comes with default Hive are all called UDFs. And if you want to write your own function, right, let's say you want some functionality which is not available built in. For example, let's say you have some value in degrees Celsius. You want to convert that into Fahrenheit, degrees in Fahrenheit, or you want to convert from kilometers to miles, or vice versa. You want to convert from kgs to pounds, or vice versa. Something, right? You have some functionality you wanted, which is not built into. So you can write your own function, and that function is also called as UDF, right? So you can write your own UDF, or you can use any of the built-in existing UDF. Okay, so how would I know all the functions that are there? Do you remember? Anybody remember what is the SQL query to see all the functions that are available in Oracle? Anybody remember the query? In Oracle, what is the function? Sorry, what is the SQL query to see all the functions that are there?
Kumar, the all underscore objects will give everything: procedures, package, functions, views, tables.
All underscore objects where we'll use type equal to something, right?
Yeah.
In a similar way, we have in MySQL, if you say show functions, it shows you all the functions. In MySQL, this is the way to query the list of all the functions that are built in. Okay, and as you know, Hive has taken the syntax from MySQL. So in Hive also, it is show functions. So when you say show functions, it shows you list of all the built-in functions, list of all the built-in UDFs that are available in Hive. Okay, now you have seen the list and you found out that some functionality, whatever you are looking for, is not readily available, and you have decided to write your own function. So how do we write it? Yeah, in case of Oracle, most of us would have written some functions, right? So we'll simply say create function name, and as begin some functionality end, right? That's how we used to write. Right? Most of us would have written that because that's a common thing in PLSQL world. In case of Hive, we use Java to write those functions. Conceptually similar, only thing is we use Java instead of PLSQL to write our functions. And if you don't like Java, you can write in Python also. And if you don't write like Python, you can also use Scala to write your new functions. So nowadays support is there for all these three languages, right? Because these are the three most popular languages in the current environment. That's why support is there for these three functions. Okay, so you can use any of these three languages to write your own new function. Is that clear? Any question? Clear, friends? Are you with me?
Yes, Kumar, we are good.
Okay. So now that we know the languages that we can use to write a function, so what are the steps involved in writing a function? Let's just try to understand that. So the very first thing is you just go and write your actual Java class. Just a second, friends. It is taking much more time. I don't know. Okay. So first step is write Java code. Okay, when Java is the starting point, that's why I'm saying Java code, but you can use the remaining two also. Okay. And second one is compile the code, compile the code, and make a jar file out of it. Okay. And once you get your jar file, go to Hive and add the jar to Hive. Right? I mean, of course, we have to tell to Hive where is the jar, otherwise it cannot, right? Obviously. So add the jar to Hive. You remember we have that syntax called add jar file name. We did that in Hive Saturday. So exactly the same thing. We just have to say add jar file. And then once you add the jar file, you have to say register your function. Register your function. Because this fourth step is required because you had written just a Java piece of code, but you also have to tell to Hive that that particular Java piece of code that you have written, you wanted to use it as a Hive function. So you have to tell to Hive that the Java code, I don't know, you can. I'm ignoring the chat messages. I think they're not intended here. Okay, so register your function just by giving those statement that register function. Okay, so these are the four steps that you have to follow for creating a new function. Okay, so I hope you are with me, right? So now next one, there are some UDF categories that we all should understand. Okay, the first one is UDF. It's also called a standard UDF. Standard UDF. Okay, and second one is called UDAF. User defined aggregate functions. Third one is called UDTF, user defined table function. So these are the three types of UDFs are there. Okay, now which type to use when? Of course, depends upon our requirement, right? Many a times we use all three. In fact, we know all three. So let me talk about the first one, then you can understand it better. So this UDF, which is also called a standard UDF, it takes single argument as a parameter and returns single value as the output. Okay, uh, let's say two upper, two lower, absolute, seal, floor, and so on and so forth, right? So if you remember all these functions, they take single value as the parameter input and the returns single value as the output, right? These are all called standard UDFs. They just take single value and returns a single value. Straightforward. Okay. Uh, on the other hand, when it comes to UDFs, user-defined aggregate function, they are some of the examples are sum, average, minimum, maximum, mean, standard deviation, variance, uh, what else? What else? Count, right? So the functions which takes an entire collection of values. Most probably the collection would be a column, right? We'll just say select from mobile numbers, comma, average of duration from table group by from mobile number, right? So that average is will actually take a list of values, right? Most probably an entire column from the given table, and it computes the average on them. That's why it is called aggregate function, because these guys do an aggregation over a given values. They were named as user defined aggregate function simply because they perform the aggregation. That's it. Clear, friends? These two, are you with me? Any questions?
They're good, Kumar. It's all like the same functions, right? Like where we have in other RDBMS.
Correct, correct. Straightforward. I mean, there is nothing really complex here as such. Straightforward. Okay. So the next one, right, user-defined table function is actually a reverse of the second one. Okay. So in fact, we have seen one of the UDTF already. We have used that. Okay, that is explode. You remember explode? We have used the explode. Where we have used it? Do you remember?
Yeah, transposing the value.
Correct, exactly. So transpose is actually, if you see, explode of it only accept an array always, right? It only accept an array of, let's say, A comma B comma C comma D comma E, right? If you take the result of that, it gives you A, B, C, D, E. It gives like that, correct? So it always gives you the transpose of the collection, which means, right, you just give it a single row, right, it generates a table for you with multiple rows. That's why it is called user defined table function. So if you take sum, right, the other guy, it will take an entire column and it will perform sum, but this guy is actually reverse of it, right? It will take a single row and generates a table. On the other hand, this sum or other UDAFs will take an entire column, generate a single value. That's why they are called, I mean, that's why we view them as a reverse of each other. So explode is the UDTF, which will one of the UDTF, of course, which will be transposing the given data. I hope you are with me. Now, next one. Yeah, as usual, there's a document, PDF to follow. So here you go. So If you say show functions, it shows you list of all the functions. There will be many functions, of course, hundreds of functions. And if you want to see the description of a function, right? Simply say describe function, function name. It shows you the description of the function. And if you want to use the function, simply say select concat of something from src limit 1. So this src is a user created table. Okay, I mean you have to create the table basically. It won't be there by default. You just have to create your own. If in Oracle we used to use dual, right? Dual. So something like that we have to create just a single column table. You got to create src. It won't be available by default. And then once once we understand how to use it, right? Now next step is okay. These are the categories again, right? UDFs, normal UDFs. Right? We have round, we have floor, we have absolute, right? These are some of the candidates. And aggregate function UDAF, right? Use a different aggregate function. We know there are some average, minimum, maximum, right? They're all straightforward, no big deal about it. So we'll do like the select average of price close, right? Average closing price from stocks, where you give Apple, right? So here we are finding out Apple's average closing price, right? And similarly, we have this table generating function. So we have this explode of array of something. It will always take an array only, right? So that's why we're giving array of 1 to 3, and it just transposes it and gives you 1 to 3 in the other direction, right? So from src, this src is yeah, here I'm creating the table. Okay, you see create a table and then echo that one row into that temporary file, and then load the temporary file into this src. You just have to follow this. Okay, one row, one column table is src. From that, you can use that one row, one column table is what you can use it in the from class. Okay, I mean, no big deal about it. You can just do it on your own. Okay, so here the next important section is how to create your own UDF. Okay, how to create your own UDF is the next important thing. So, as you know, these are the steps involved in creating your own UDF. So, write your Java code. First step, right? I mean, this is a procedure for all the types of UDFs. Okay, I mean, there's nothing really different. Procedure is same, but the Java code that we write, right? The first step that would vary because in case of first one, it will just take single value, return single value. The code writing will be easy for this guy. Whereas for the UDAF, we probably will have to iterate over the value, so it might become a bit of complex. And for the third one, probably even more complex because we have to do a transpose operation. Okay, so here,
Kumar, can you give few more UDTF functions other than explode?
in fact, I also don't know. That's a good question.
That's right.
Okay, let's Google it. Okay, I mean that's a good question. Actually, we have created our own UD UDTFs. Okay, let's
Yes.
try Hive UDTFs. UDTF examples. Yeah, here they are showing how to write your own code. Uh, But built-in UDFs for UDTF, I think they're really very less in number. At least the built-in ones. Let's say built-in UDTFs. Okay, this guy is string the tokenizer EDF. That's what we are using, right? Tokenizer EDF only. Yeah, you may Google it, Malar, but to be
Yeah.
frank, I also had that question, but I haven't seen any built-in UDF other than Explode, to be frank. Okay, but
Oh,
one thing is we have created our own UDTFs, so the
okay.
procedure is same, so you can actually create your own,
Okay, Kumar. Yeah, I'll do.
and let us know tomorrow if you've come across some UDTFs. Okay.
Sure, Kumar. Tomorrow is too early, but I'll try.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So. Yeah, so now the procedure, as I said, right, this is the procedure which is fairly reasonable and straightforward one. So write your Java code. Second step is compile and make a jar file. And here you can actually use Maven also, right? You better use Maven and package it as a jar file. And then once the jar file is ready, add the jar file to Hive. And as we know, it's better to add the jar file permanently. So just go and create an environment variable in Hive site.xml and add that permanently. And once that jar is added, then you can just register the function. Right? These are the 4 steps that we follow. And here is the guide which talks about it. So here I am taking a sample example of a low area of okay, which is a mundane example. But I have a Maven example for Hive UDF. So this is the Maven project. You can just import it into your Eclipse and create your own bunch of UDFs. Okay, so use this Maven project instead of the this document way because Maven is always easier to build and you don't have to really worry about resolving the dependencies and all. Maven will take care of it. So here we'll just use it as a point to understand. So so simply go and create a directory and I mean navigate to some directory, any directory is okay, and then go and create some path. Any path is okay, and inside that you go and create some Java class, right? Any class name is okay, your choice, and just copy paste this code. So here, if you see, we're using a package. We are having 2 import statements, and here we have some class lower UDF class extends. This is the key. Okay, this is the most important point here. So extends UDF. What it means is this function, whatever this class, whatever we are adding the Java class, is extending the built-in UDF class, which means this lower UDF is going to get the behavior of the UDF. That's the whole important point. We're extending it this is what we call as inheritance if you come across in Java world this is what we call as inheritance. So basically that lower UDF is inheriting the properties of the UDF. This UDF as you see is here part of the org Apache Hive Hadoop Hive QU exec. So this UDF is a pre-built UDF in Hive, and this is going to get this lower UDF Java class is going to get the properties of this particular Java class. Okay, and then there is a single method called evaluate. So in that single evaluate method, we are going to get some text, right? This text again is coming from ORG Apache Hadoop IO text. Okay, so take the text, and if this is equal to null, then return null. Otherwise, return new text of. Uh, Friends, give me 1 minute. 1 minute. Team, I'm back. Sorry for the interruption. My kid was actually crying. Sorry for that. So yeah, let's continue. So so all we have to do is write your actual functionality in this evaluate method. That's it. Okay. Now, for example, you are converting from degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit temperature, right? So in this instead of this function, right, instead of this particular these two lines, we write our actual code which converts that from degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. I mean, there was a formula, right? 5 by 17 or 17 by 5, some formula is there, right? So we'll have to use that. Similarly, let's say you want to convert from kilometers to miles, right? So instead of these two lines, you got to write those actual two lines which does that conversion. So basically, whatever is your requirement, right? Accordingly, you will implement your evaluate method. That's the most important piece to take away, right? You just write your evaluate method and keep the actual functionality, whatever is there for that particular function. That's it. Okay. Now, once you write your code, as we discussed, right, next step is to compile that. So you compile it using, I mean, we don't do this compilation like this, but for understanding purpose, just be with me. We use Maven to do the compilation. Okay, so just use JavaC to compile and then package it as a jar file. So these two things will use Maven. So all we have to do is Maven clean install, right? That Maven clean install will anyway generate as a jar file. Once you get the jar file, right, you just go and create an Hive auxiliary jar path environment variable. So in this path only we have placed our jar because we started with that path. So if you see, this is the path we started with. So here the jar file would be there in that path only anyway, because that's the starting point. So you simply start your Hive, and once you are on the Hive prompt, right, you just have to say create temporary function my lawyer. Here, this is the name what you want to give it to, and this is the name that will be you'll have to use, right? That's the name that you'll have to use in your queries. That's the Hive specific name. Okay, you can use any name, but this is the name that you have to use in the query. So once you write your function name, so in your query, right, select my lower of yes from SRC. This is what is how you have to use it. So this is your package name, your Java class name with the actual package. That's it. And this is how we create. So first step we have written the code. Second step we'll compile that. Third step is this, right? Adding the jar path. So this export jar is the third step, and the fourth step is this create temporary function. So if you remove the word temporary, it will be added permanently, right? In the latest versions of Hive, um, you just remove the word temporary, so it will be available permanently in all your Hive sessions. Okay, assuming that the jar file is there in that location, all you have to do is remove this temporary keyword, and that UDF will be permanently added, which means, if you close the session and comes back, it will be intact when you remove the word temporary. But as you can easily expect, if you keep the word temporary, it will be just temporary. Temporary means till that session, right? Once you close the session and comes back, that won't be available if you make it temporary. But if you remove the word temporary, which means it will be permanent, so it will be there even across multiple sessions, right? Are you with me? Have you understood this whole UDF concept?
That's good.
Any questions? Any questions? Okay, so I mean, you just import this Hive UDF jar as a Maven project into your Eclipse, build this, and then you can create your function. So if you see in SRC, right, there are multiple examples out there. So these are all the when it's showing us PDF, but actually Java classes. So let's take a simple one UDF count UDF system date substring. Let's see how the substring is written. So this class, these are all unit tests, okay? Yeah, this substring for Oracle extends the UDF, which means it is still the normal UDF only. Okay, and here it's a constructor, and here is the evaluate method, and it is taking, okay, yeah, so position basically. So it is actually accepting single value as the text, and then int position and then length. This is the UDF that we are writing. Okay, so here it is still accepting a single value, but then these two are required for its position and length requirement. Okay, so but still it falls under the UDF category only because it is still accepting a single value as the input, and it's going to return the substring of it. Okay, I mean these are there, but these are all required for this guy only, right? They're not. It won't goes into the aggregate function because this particular function is going to work on still the same single one, and similarly, it is not a UDTF as such, right? It still falls under the category of UDF only. Okay, so here we are checking the null stuff, right? And then a return value we are clearing, and then get length less than 0, then return null, right? And then otherwise you simply say method absolute of position length is greater than 0, then still return 0 or null. And then starting and ending, you just have to find out the position, right? You still use the substring position and then return that, right? And then another one where we have text and position. If you have only two, right? There's no position at end, right? So this is overloaded operator. So you can use maximum. So you just say maximum value and then give the up to the maximum length. And here it gives you how to use this. This is a description of it. And then this particular code is unit test, right? How do we do the unit testing? So next thing, this is one unit testing, this is one unit testing, and then another unit testing, and the result is this. So you can do the unit testing also. I mean, this is a standard way where we'll do unit testing also, and this gives you the description of the whole thing. Are you following, friends, or is it really bouncing? No big deal about it. It is still the same thing. We are writing an additional piece of code because here we are talking about a position and length, and then we are making it generalized where one can execute this way also, wherein only position is given, so length is maximum. So here we have given both position and length. So here we have given minus also. Hey, what this minus will do, man? Position is -5. Oh, reverse, I think. Yeah, reverse. And then four characters. So this is 3, which means it comes from C. But -5 means, I guess, the reverse one, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you have to check what is that written there. But doesn't really matter. It's just your own implementation, right? That doesn't really matter. You are writing the functionality here. You are writing your functionality. Right, so here we are checking the position is greater than 0, then we are saying start, right? Position equal to get of -1, and else if position is less than 0, then we are simply summing it up, right? We are doing some functionality that's all detail we can always learn. Similarly, there are many other UDFs you can see here. Last day, right? Last day is another UDF. How to use this last day? Select last day from source. So from this, I think it will return 2013 month last probably, right? It return the last day of the month based day, right? So if you see 2000, you give some date, so it's going to give you last day in that particular month, right? Again, here the same functionality, right? So just to say last day extends your UDF, and you write your Java code here, and evaluate method would be there. In the evaluate method, we will simply find out that whatever logic that is actually appropriate. Right? I mean, you're getting it right. No big deal about it. End of the day, this evaluate method is something that you have to write as per the given requirement. Right? That is anyway our Java piece of code. But then once you get this ready, we have to follow the same procedure, like uh, compile the code, right? Compile the code, add the Hive jar, add the jar to the Hive terminal, and then you register a function. The steps are not going to change, right? And generally, this date related functions are very common UDOs that we write in a typical office grid environment. Okay, so date related functions are a very common function. So if you see here, next date format, you give date in this format and you want in this format, for example, right? That's a very common UDF that one would write in a typical office grid environment. Okay, so you give in this format, and then remember this is also a UDF only, even though it is accepting two parameters, it is still a UDF because it works on a single value only. The remaining one is just our format, but still it works on a single value. It's not going to work on an array of values as such, right? So again, how to write it? The same old thing, right? Simply go and extend your UDF, right? And then in the evaluate method, here we are defining something, right? But in the evaluate method, you write your actual code, right? So we'll just say, I mean, apply pattern, you set your text, right? And then this simple date format that parts, right? This guy should be simple date format, right? So simple date format is a Java class using which we can define using some date format, right? That's a common. When those of you who have used Java earlier, this standard date for simple date format is the Java class with which we define some types. That's a standard one, right? And that's it. Now you finally get what you want and then return that guy. And if some exception comes, return null. Simple. And I mean, you have bunch of examples. Take them, try to create one, and uh, experiment on the system. And that's the best way. But then here bunch of examples are given, and we do have some UDAFs also. So if you see UDAF dedupe, uh, duplication removal, right? So I think Shekhar already left. Uh, yeah. So UDAF. See here, UDAF is a bit, or UDAF and UDTFs are a bit tricky. I mean, they are little involving, right? So removes duplicate row and returns it as a struct, right? Basically, it returns the uh, duplicate. It removes the duplicate rows. Okay, so I mean, this will be a bit tricky and complex code because you have to write something called object inspector, initialize method, Next method, iterate method, a bit tricky. I mean, involving implementation. I don't want to call it as uh, tough, but yeah, it has to iterate over the given values, right? So iterating over the given values will involve some complexity. So there will be an init method, there will be an iterate method, a reset method. So all these methods will have to implement. Then only you can actually make a function as UDAF, somewhat involving. Similarly, UDTF also is somewhat involving. Do you have an example? UDTF populate. What this guy will do? If you see, populate only takes one structure type argument. Populate the struct input as a given single row. Oh, unit test cases are not written for this, huh? Single struct. What is it doing? Initialize is there, process is there, toString is there. It's just saying struct object inspector. Oh, it is returning the first element only, man. Yeah, zeroth element only, nothing else. This is popular takes only one struct type argument. See here, it is just taking a first member. That's it. But why is it so? I think this guy is something not really useful as such. Populate a struct input as a single row. What is the use of it? I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I mean, as you see, these are all some of the examples that I have taken from internet, right? So at least it helps us in serving as a purpose. Okay, so we have to initialize that. We have to process it. So these are two functions that we write it in UDTF. Whereas when it comes to UDAF, it is a different set of methods, right? We have to write a function for this init method, then one for the iterate method, one for the close method. There will be close and terminate methods, right? So this reset method. So uh, three, four methods you have to implement when it comes to UDAFs. Two methods you have to implement when it comes to UDTF. Single method you have to implement when it comes to the first category. And first category is the easiest one, where we have to implement only the evaluate method. That's it. Okay, so we'll stop it here. Some people already left. So you try this UDFs on your own, and tomorrow if you face any problem, we can discuss that tomorrow, right? And we'll continue with Uzi tomorrow. Okay, we'll start a new topic called Uzi. It'll take 3 days, right? And after completing that Uzi, we will go for Spark. Okay. Any questions before we close for today?
Kumar, just a thought. Would we be able to write a Java code and connect to Oracle and pull data from that and put it as part of the NVIDIA?
Uh, you want to connect from Hive to Oracle?
And if we can use the JDBC native drivers to connect on Java code and
Huh.
uh, connect to Oracle and pull a data, because I have some use case like that at office.
You can always do that. I mean, it's just a normal Java piece of code, right? So you can always do that. So just write a Java program and connect it to Oracle and pull the data and use that. That's pretty much possible.
Okay.
Okay. All right, friends. Thank you. Good night. Good day. Bye bye.